A brilliant example was created by Pierre. They created an installation in this very mansion, which they called. In at least 2 showrooms I saw such allusions to the theme of Aztec, painting, Moroccan, some motif. I really liked one carpet. They use such historical fibers. It's linen, it's hemp. This collection is called... Hi there, friends. We are back in Paris, and back at a textile and decorative event called Paris Deco Off. And now we begin our walk, our acquaintance with the new products from May Street. Rue de Mai, as you remember, is where the top textile brands and so-called decorative editors are concentrated. Who are editors and why are they called that? You can see in our previous issue from the Heim Textile exhibition, which took place in Frankfurt. Well, now, make yourselves comfortable, as we're going to get acquainted with the trends and new products. Everything just the way you like it. After visiting a couple of showrooms, you can already get a first impression of what's in fashion this season. The story of the development of color trends continues with terracotta, but the mustard tones and the thorny tones sounded more actively, and wine tones have also become more pronounced and vibrant. They pair beautifully with each other. If we are talking about sawdust fabrics, then texture is still important. But if buccal, which has dominated in this sense for the last 3 years, on upholstered furniture, now more varied textures are offered, more refined, more elegant. Perhaps the most important thing is that they are different. The weaving is also quite chunky, and the texture is very pleasant, tactilely pleasing. It's the quality of the fabrics, particularly upholstery fabrics, continues to occupy the minds of creators. As for the patterns, it seemed to me that designs that are characteristic of the mid-century era somehow reappeared. It's as if we've almost forgotten about mid-century, because there's been so much of it in the last 10 years. These patterns have started to appear again, but they're being presented in a slightly different way. In other words, they are realized using handcrafted techniques, with the help of embroidery, with the help of some hand prints, and it's quite interesting. In general, this nostalgic direction in design is manifesting everywhere, including in fabrics. For instance, a fairly well-known Swiss brand is showcasing a collaborative collection with the Dutch designer Marcel Wanders, whom you undoubtedly know. He's quite a prominent figure in the design world. This collection goes a bit against the current color trends, as it essentially showcases all shades of sepia, ranging from beige to gray. And there, it's most interesting to observe, again, these very textures. And, of course, the materials from which these fabrics are made, because they use such historical fibers. So, it's linen, it's hemp, or what's known as rami. And this collection is called Ancient Memory, or the archaeology of fabrics. In fact, Marcel Wanders is nostalgic for this very archaeology, and showcases what's called a timeline in the development of textile creativity. By the way, we noticed this too. We also observed this at the Heim Textile exhibition, and this return to roots, the use of ancient technologies and fibers, is still very much in focus. Another rather interesting collection. It was presented for the anniversary of a no less famous brand. It was created for them by the artist Geoffrey Panton. He used a painterly technique. It reminds me a bit of batik, and here, artistic practices and painting techniques are in focus. We visited the Chairsire exhibition. Attention! We noticed this when we visited the Chairsire exhibition. They are used in tile design. Well, here we can see that. They are also quite relevant in fabric design. And we also need to say a few words about patterns. There's a lot of fine patterns, really delicate, almost subtle. It can also be done in different techniques. Again, there's this multi-dimensional technique, jacquards. It all looks different from various angles, in different ways, and quite a bit of attention is also given to this optical effect. There's a lot of geometry, quite interesting, but at the same time not overly complicated and not too busy. It's also quite sophisticated and delicate. As for color trends, they flow straight from showroom to showroom, and this applies not only to fabrics, but also to carpets. That is, this ochre, terracotta, some mustard shades are present everywhere. There are still cooler shades, there are green shades, some. Also, again, there are complex shades like mint and sage that are present too. And from an aesthetic point of view, there's still that ethnic influence. I've seen at least 2 showrooms with such allusions to Aztec painting, if you can call it that, some sort of writings. There are also Moroccan ones, some motifs, particularly in carpets, and I also really liked a carpet called Ombro Terracotta, which means terracotta shadow. So here you've got everything, both the graphics and the color palette. It's just the most on-trend carpet I've seen today. The second main location for Paris Deco Off is the Passage St Sulpice. How do you mean, main? Disappointment this year. Why? Because this passage has become about half the size it was last year. You can watch our report, compare it, and of course, it's no longer a passage, but some sort of kiosk, or some sort of tent. There are half the participants. There are some interesting things. 2 things caught my attention. The first is the stand of the company, Innate. This is an absolutely new name. On the textile scene, the company has Australian roots. To be precise, the owner is Australian, and the textile designer Wanda Ilmini. She worked for the Missoni house, and that is inspiring, and it tells us that there is a certain potential. There's potential in the idea. Because, of course, Australian aesthetics, especially modern Australian aesthetics, are still exotic in every sense. It is precisely modern because we talked about the fact that there is some. The trend is towards ethnicity, but here it is not ethnicity. Here the inspiration is contemporary Australian painting, which is also quite. It's also interesting that the company presents not only decorative textiles, that is, which can be used for curtains and upholstery, but also home textiles, that is, some blankets, this towel. If textiles are produced in different places of the world, then the towel is produced in Portugal. In Portugal, she knows about home textiles. And the second thing that caught my attention is the presence of a small trend zone. And in this trend zone, there's a little armchair, Emile. This is the very Chilean rocking chair that I liked last year at the Duvivier Canapé showroom. And by the way, I was passing by the showroom itself. And in this case, this chair is distinctive because it uses woven leather. This is also a kind of small trend, as it pops up here and there. And here, there's also a company that specifically works with leathers, and it showcases some wall panels made of leather with this weaving. And, of course, this weaving is used to finish off some more functional items, like door handles and light fixtures. And by the way, in the Jube showroom, there was also a model of lamps from Elena Luz's partner brand, with this kind of woven leather cord, which conceals the electrical cord. I think that for truly premium brands, decoration, including this electrical functional part, is of great importance. As for Duvivier, it's truly a fantastic brand with a rich history. Let me remind you, if you didn't watch our episode last year, they started out making saddles, so they really get into it later. They also know a thing or two about seating comfort, and now they're all about bringing that to life. Sofas. What I like is that their sofas have a slightly higher seat height on average compared to the Italians. And this is definitely very comfortable for tall people or for the elderly, because it's not just easy to sit down, but also to get up. They're big fans. It's such a precise, to a certain extent, even minimalist approach. For example, the new extended version of the Usen sofa has completely seamless details. There are no frontal seams in the fabric. The fabric is arranged in such a way that the pattern, which is quite a complex geometric design and rather large, transitions from one detail to another. And the seams, of course, are done perfectly. And this is it. The fit is very precise, literally down to the millimeter. It's amazing. And, of course, the reissue of the 1954 model, which took place in the second half of last year, also attracts attention. This is a famous chair, one might say, a modernist chair designed by Michel Oinsier. Despite its entirely futuristic, or from our perspective today, probably retrofuturistic look, it's very, very comfortable. Another audience favorite can be awarded to the company that represents outdoor fabrics. It's quite an original way to showcase their quality. They used these fabrics to upholster the chairs, the interior, and the roof. This historic French convertible, which you've probably seen in some old French films. and these kinds of things at design events. I just love it when they take an old mansion in some field, in this case Hotel de Guise, and completely redecorate it. And here's a brilliant example created by the company Pierre Frey. It's a whole interior design house, a complete decorative house. Pierre Frey primarily produces fabrics, wallpapers, carpets, and even furniture. And together with Elizabeth Lerish, a well-known trend analyst and trendsetter, they created, in this very mansion, there's an installation called The Desert. Let me remind you, last year, the trend zone that Elizabeth Lerish created for the Maison&Objet exhibition included the desert. And here, this desert unfolds. Elizabeth, along with Pierre Frey, shows just how varied a desert can be. The desert isn't just about sandy, terracotta, or brown shades. It's, to a certain extent, about oases. Oases often have a lot of greenery. These also include marine shades, because some deserts stretch out to the sea or ocean shore. It all really has a fantastic set design. It's truly an immersive show, because there's music, scent, and light. The lighting isn't always perfect, but nonetheless, that's it. This gives you the chance to really immerse yourself in the atmosphere, in the philosophy of this decorative house. And, if you like, it's about the philosophy of art de vivre, that is, the art of living the French way, which, as sources claim, is passionately defended by Patrick Frey. The second textile enclave of the event, Paris Deco Off, is located roughly at the intersection of Rue Jacob and Rue de Seine. There's also quite a concentration of textile showrooms here, showcasing new collections. And, basically, these new collections continue the theme that we noted. The color palette is still the same. Browns, terracotta, clay shades, beige sandy, mustard, and to some extent, wine. And of course, the combination of these colors. As for the patterns, they are probably structured fabrics, specifically structured multicolored fabrics. Multi-level fabrics, meaning they are very complex in terms of production. So it's a combination of velvet and a base like that, cotton, and because of this, a geometric pattern is achieved mainly. Partly with some ethnic motives, perhaps, but not only. That is, this is some kind of simple geometry, and, again, perhaps some kind of geometry inspired by traditional patterns. Sometimes you come across some craft techniques, some artisan practices, again, with some traditional background. I think it's about textiles. Plus or minus, everything's clear. At least it's definitely clear to me. I don't know if it's clear to you, so if it is, do let me know, and if it isn't, feel free to say that too. Well then, friends, I hope you enjoyed my review of the event, Paris Deco Off. Did you like the new arrivals? Did you find something interesting that you can use in your next project? Don't forget to leave a nice comment and give it a like. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so you don't miss the next review. And of course, check out the other episodes from Paris. By the way, just a reminder, we have a Telegram channel, and it's definitely worth subscribing to it because we share our discoveries and observations about the world of design and architecture on a daily basis. And there, of course, you'll find all the announcements and videos of our wonderful events. So do subscribe as well. That's it. Bye.